Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. Happy
I
Friday.
need to cover up my cleavage. Hi. How
I
are
don't
you?
think you do. I think you look so pretty.
I'm so pretty.
So I like how earlier you were saying you have cleavage, but not much there. But
Yeah.
clearly you can't have both.
Well, it's the
I don't
shirt.
It's the shirt. So welcome to BROADScast. Hey. So we go live every Friday at 9:11 a.m., which is not true. It's 9 a.m. But you know what? We're in charge.
Yeah, we're in charge.
And if you are not listening on Facebook Live, then you are probably listening to the podcast afterwards. And that's awesome too. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us.
Every Friday
at some time.
at 9.
Or possibly on Thursday. Or maybe Tuesday afternoon.
Whatever. We show up when we can, which is good. We're like a deadbeat dad.
Oh, but
wait, am I going to get letters for that? Don't send emails. So welcome. So we are going to talk some broad topics today. We are the guests and the hosts, which is very exciting.
And the experts.
And
the comedians.
And if you've never listened to our show before, you should understand that we know very little, but we're opinionated about all of it.
Well, yes. Yes.
Am I right?
And we make up a lot of stuff, so make sure that you don't quote us.
Yeah, and if we're
we don't
wrong,
care about facts or statistics.
It's like
kind of like our president.
I was going to say it's like the presidency.
Yeah.
We are the very definition of hashtag fake news. No, I'm just kidding. So we talk about real stuff.
I hate that. Yeah.
I know it's gross, right? So anyway, comment and let us know you're here, and send us your questions, and we will get to them later on in the show. So we're trying to manage this on our own, looking at your questions, plus
trying to figure out if anything has stalled.
Yeah, right. But I think we're still going.
Us, I think.
Yeah, that's us. So it's all good. It's all good. So couple of housekeeping items.
Oh.
Housekeeping. So no, not really housekeeping. So did you notice, did you go back and watch the video of us last week?
I did not.
So for those of you who are not familiar with this, like I actually do some media coaching with some people on camera and also podcasting. And
didn't you launch a new,
my favorite, I shouldn't say my favorite. Oye Mommy is a podcast now on iTunes that I worked with them, and they were fantastic. Thank you. And shout out to Elle and Liz for getting their podcast up.
Congratulations.
But what I noticed last week was like teach thyself. Because I'm like a lot of like faces and looking down, and like, you got to look up at the camera. You got to, be present and smile and have your positioning right. And it was just so funny that I can use myself as an example of what not to do.
So that is a reminder of a story that when my son was in kindergarten, I was the room parent along with a friend of mine, and we had to do something to decorate the door. That's the worst. If anybody has ever done that, it's the worst. So we decided that we were going to take pictures of all the kids and like put their heads on popsicle sticks, and then they could like add their hands and their shirts and pants and stuff. And then we were going to stick them to the door. Well, we placed a stick on a child in a very unique position, and so and so we became the what not to do.
Door decorators.
And so our shameful door is in the history books at
that's the one not to do.
Is do not to do this. So
oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
It just made me think. Sorry for so wait, I apologize.
But that's not a topic that we had agreed on in advance, and those are the ones I like the most. Do you think that those
doors are dumb? What?
Well, my kids just started. I had to move to a new school, and they, I guess, used to do it like multiple times a year. Thankfully, decorate the doors.
Oh, we only.
And now they do it once.
Yeah, during parent.
Teacher appreciation week, which
which
sounds reasonable.
High, by the way.
Oh, thank God. Teacher appreciation.
They don't do all that. Decorate the door. Well, they do teacher appreciation, but it's a little
not. But it's like send them money and booze,
or they send lunch. But for when we did elementary school, like every day was a different theme, and you brought a flower on a day, you brought an apple on a day, you brought a snack, whatever.
All the things the teacher like probably just hands out to somebody else. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, that door thing. Like, does it create like a fun morale?
No.
I mean, just cause stress.
In our school, it was horribly competitive. And so you always wanted to be like the best door, because there were some parents that like it was their, Oscar debut, to be able to decorate. And I'm
It's
not
like the
kidding.
Sistine Chapel up in here.
And then there was those of us that were like, oh crap, that morning that we're trying to slap something on the door because we totally forgot.
Right. Tampon pads.
And you have to tape it a certain way, and cutting out the little door handle. And there were women that would get like door handle cutouts that they ordered on Amazon. So their door handle things were perfectly, whereas mine were like ripped. And then I would like try to tape it together.
Oh my gosh.
So,
yeah.
It produced a tremendous amount of stress.
I think, and that's the thing now that my youngest is in 5th grade. So I have 2 in elementary only for the next couple of years. And then I have a junior high, as you know, and you have a high schooler, which is crazy. But I hear moms, especially like on the PTA, who are like, oh, well, I do. And, I do this. It's so stressful, but I do it for my kids. And I was asking myself, because that's what I call myself, at what point are you doing things to help your kids? So that's the question I ask myself when I volunteer for things. Is this really helping my child? And if the answer is no, I no longer do it.
Okay. So I have an answer to that. So I did it for 2 reasons, mostly because I had the time and I wanted to be able to put as much time in as I possibly could. But then I started to notice the benefits of that, which were I was included more in conversations that were happening in the classroom. The teacher would send notes home. There was like a little extra, pat on the back for my kid. Not that he was getting special treatment, but I felt like there was a little bit extra care,
right?
Because I was making connections with the teachers,
right?
And I spent a lot of time, and he stood out. And there was a lot, and so selfishly, I did see the benefit to my son in that regard. So I continued to make that a priority, but Sam also really appreciated. He loved that I was in the classroom.
Yeah.
And like I said, now that because I had the time in junior high, you don't do anything. And now that he's in high school, I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
I mean, it literally, I have no clue what's happening.
Yeah.
Every day. I have no idea. And my son, because he cannot complete a full sentence.
That's
have
the
no
14-year-old
There's a
boy.
homecoming dance and game tonight.
Oh,
I have no idea where it is. I have no idea.
Is he going?
I don't know.
Oh.
I have no idea. I don't know nothing about
maybe
it.
he's not into that.
I just mean I don't have the information. But when you're in elementary school,
you've got all the information.
You have all the information.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this year it's funny because going to a new school in 5th and 6th grade, I feel like, oh, I could totally skate. Like I don't have to get involved at all. I could just hands off. And the first day there, I signed up. I'm like the yearbook person.
Oh.
But here's the thing.
That's for you. That's not
first
for
of
your
all,
kids.
Well, no, it is for my kid. First and foremost, I promise you. Because you ever notice though, like, I mean, this school has like 1,000 kids in it, and my kid's in 6th grade, and I want to make sure he's in the yearbook.
Oh, right.
So first and foremost, that was the reason. I wanted to make sure in 6th grade that he was in the yearbook, because you don't know all 1,000 kids.
But really, for 1 year, it's that important that he makes it into the yearbook.
The last year of his school.
Here's the deal. Never been to though.
The first, last, and only year he's ever been in the school.
Okay.
If I'm buying a yearbook, I don't want to rob him. And I think there's a lot of guilt involved with changing a kid in 6th grade, that it's like, I want him to experience and have that. But also like doing yearbook is totally up my wheelhouse. Like that's not controlling. You think what? I was thinking editorial, but whatever. Controlling.
Editorial.
No, but I'm also co-chairing it with somebody else. So she's in charge of she's an amazing photographer and graphic designer. So she's going to be in charge of all that. And yeah, I'm the whatever.
Okay.
Shut up, Kim.
As someone who has purchased many years of the yearbook, I've never understood why the last 20 pages of the yearbook is all the year in review, that stupid insert.
Oh. Don't you have to pay extra for that?
I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it'll be fun years down the road when they look at their yearbook and they know what was happening. 20 pages? That's a little excessive.
It's just...
Ours is, the one I saw, the sample was like 2 or 3. But
no. I mean, I don't know. I'm just being sarcastic, but I was like, oh my God.
She's like, I don't want Kanye in my kids' elementary.
No, I just
So I don't know what's up with, I will tell you, Spectrum cable is on my list.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm calling them out here, guys. Spectrum.
Oh,
do you have Spectrum?
I think I do.
They're on my list. I'm calling them out because you can't just not be available to me
Yeah.
when this is what we do.
Yeah. This is our livelihood.
Yes. This is everything. So
Yes.
you better get your crap together. So
You just better get your spectrum in order.
anyway, we're back.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So
we carried on a whole incredible conversation.
We did an entire show without you.
Yeah.
So hey, all right. So let's talk about some of our broad topics today.
Okay.
What were we gonna say?
Our friend,
camera's up there.
Our friend Jamie Cox, who is a makeup artist who has done incredible makeup for us.
She did not do this today. Just for
she posted something on her Facebook page.
Oh.
Of a model who I don't remember, who has a line of
a unibrow,
like ginormous. And I looked it up this morning while I was sitting here waiting for it to come into the studio. And the girl, I don't know where she's from. Greek. I feel like she's from Greece.
Greece is the word.
Unibrow is the word.
Yes.
She dyed it black, so she's blonde and she's beautiful.
Wait, did she dye it black or did she dye her hair blonde?
Her hair is blonde, and she dyed her unibrow darker to make it to accentuate it.
You know this for a fact?
Yeah, I went to Instagram to look at what she's done, and I it's not good.
No,
it's just not good. So
so what part do you have an issue with? The fact that she has a unibrow, or the fact that she dyed it black?
I don't care that it's not attractive. Like I don't find it. I mean, all I can see is her gigantic eyebrow, and I appreciate that she's like I find this natural, but it's very hard to focus. I want to try to.
What about you guys? What do you think of the unibrow? Should we keep it? Or, I mean, I have to say, if she's wearing her God-given eyebrows, more power to her.
Yes, I'm not judging her. I'm just saying for me, okay, wait. I don't know how we're going to be able to.
Hold it up to the camera.
Oh, wait.
And then you can see. All right. There you go.
Can you see that, people?
Wow. Those are pretty dark.
Okay. So it's pretty gnarly.
So, but here's the thing. Remember in the Broad Squad group, which you can join us, and
can you see this?
Yeah, there are people right now like putting, like pasting or like gluing eyebrows on
a wig, like that.
Yeah,
and
like real hair eyebrows.
I think,
and then other people who are feathering them.
Oh, and then isn't there like a swirly thing?
Oh yeah, then there's the squiggly thing.
We're going to be perming our eyebrows any day now.
I have a it's enough for me to just like be,
seriously, do you find
manicuring.
that attractive?
No, but I'm not offended by it.
I didn't say I was offended. I was just like, I can't hope that doesn't become a fad.
Yeah. So what do you guys, yay or nay on the, the unibrow? I don't think it's necessarily the unibrow that's the issue. Is the fact that if she I think she's beautiful.
She is beautiful. I said that she's beautiful, but if you go to her Instagram, and we can put it up, but this one, it's not fully connected yet. That I think looks great, but when it's fully connected and it's just one gigantic, I mean, this is like thick,
right?
It's like a thick,
right? I may or may not have a kid who has a unibrow. Who
my kid does.
We actually like help him out and trim it.
Yes, my son has a little one, and he wants
may
to
or
get
may
rid
not.
Of it. So I'm just saying.
Thank God your son doesn't watch this.
No, he does not want a unibrow. He's totally opposed to it. He's very. But my son has very bushy eyebrows, which I love. The only thing I just want in the middle for him, he doesn't want that.
Right.
But the rest of it we haven't touched. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean that would be crazy to.
Yeah.
I mean,
now there's lots of men that do that too, but this I think is beautiful. I mean, it's full. I love that. I don't like the pencil.
I do. Thing. I love the full eyebrows, and I feel like I've had way too many women who have trimmed my eyebrows who have made them a lot smaller than they and they used to be really great.
And I don't know about you, but as I've gotten older, my eyebrows don't fill in anymore.
Yes.
Like
do you fill them in?
Yeah, now I'm learning because Jamie taught me how to fill in my eyebrows, because as I've gotten older, there's nothing there.
Right.
I don't get them waxed anymore. I can do it myself because I have nothing. Like,
isn't it funny that right, but everywhere else the hair doesn't stop. Thanks. Biology.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. Anyway. So all right. So that's I'm curious what people think. We're gonna
I was
back
noticing
later.
that my glasses looked very full, which made me remind me of the unibrow for some reason.
Oh, so you have like unibrow glasses. That's fancy.
Anyway, that's right.
Hey, So you sent this topic to me. There are parents who were pranking their kids
I'm going to pull it up. Yeah.
on the internet. And
Yeah.
which, by the way, like if you're going to prank your kids, just do it in real life, but whatever. They're pranking their kids on the internet, and they were
YouTube, yeah.
convicted and sentenced
to 5 years
Tell us about
of
it.
supervised. So in Maryland, these married couple, Heather and Mike Martin, were sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation because of alleged child neglect of their two youngest kids. Because this couple, they have YouTube channels that were Daddy 05 and then I think it's Mommy 05. And they were doing these pranks online, and it was traumatizing the kids. And the psychologist that was brought into this case shared that the kids were traumatized, and then I guess the judge didn't think it was very funny. So now these adults, they are not allowed to contact the two neglected children in any way without a judge's approval.
Wow.
And the kids have gone back to be with their biological mom. But
so this is the biological dad and his wife?
Yes.
So the stepmother?
But I think between them, they have 5 kids. And so I don't think they have kids together. I think they're all step. And so they were accused of exploiting their children. And it triggered an investigation from Child and Family Services. So I went to just look at one of the videos, and I was disturbed, not because there was any pranking. It just happened to be the video I tuned into, that they were just like mocking and harassing these kids. And like one kid was crying because he was feeling something. And he was yelling that, I just want to stay in the tub. I don't want to be with you. And then the mom is like, well, I don't like you anyway. I love you, but I don't like you. And I was just, made me really sad. And the dad's just filming it. And then he's filming another one having a tantrum downstairs and then one having a tantrum upstairs. And they're scaring the crap out of kids and they're beating each other. Like, it was just kind of gnarly.
Right.
So I didn't get to the pranking videos because I couldn't get past that video.
Right.
But I know you have thoughts on putting your kids online and stuff, but do you think that we've gone too far with using our kids as fodder and for putting everything and for documenting everything? But to this point,
as a punchline, like using your kid. Yeah. Well, as you know, I was a mommy blogger for a little bit, and it started because I was writing about the adoption process when we're going through that with our daughter, and then just kind of kept going. And then one day I realized they were, I don't know, 5, maybe the oldest was 5. And it was no longer, I continued to blog, but it wasn't their daily stuff.
Right.
It was more about parenting topics. And then I may use an example or something. And so it kind of morphed into that. And then I just stopped because it felt like I was using their lives
for your own,
for my own, and it's, journal away, do your thing. But it was no longer, it didn't feel right to put their stuff out there as we sit here and talk about our kids.
Right. No, but I think,
I moved from the written word into the spoken word. But this is the thing that I have an issue with. And I think there are a lot of parents out there who probably will have an issue with this, and I don't really care. When you record your kid having a tantrum, I get it. There are some moments that are funny or whatever, and you want to take a picture. I mean, you could go back to my blog, and there were times where I had a leash on my kid just for a photo, and she hated it so much.
The best old video of Jackie with her kids is filming Brady, your middle child, sleeping while he was eating.
It was on Ellen, that video.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
So Brady, he's almost 12 years old. He's already been on Ellen DeGeneres, but he I think that's funny. But when you put your kid on, there's an Instagram account, there are other things where it's it's all about kids and melting down and being jerks. And I don't like it. It feels really icky to me.
But do you think, and again, I know you haven't watched the videos, but do you think that pranking your kids and doing those things is warrants the child, services department to come after you and launch an investigation, and then to find that there were guilty of 5 years of.
Here's the thing. Like if you're doing like that Jimmy Kimmel thing, which is like something I love and hate all at the same time, where you like tell the kids that you ate
all their
Halloween candy, which you know that will be coming up again. You know, I get it. It's
but why is that different though? If you've ever watched any of those Jimmy Kimmel, I think they're like in their 4th year doing it, and he asks kids, or I mean he asks parents to like prank their kids, and they record and they send it in, and we all find it funny. But why is that any different?
I find I'm torn with how
it is heartbreaking to hear the kids like scream that they lost their candy bars. But why is that? It's different?
The ones who get like belligerent toward their parents, and you really understand what the relationship really looks like in the house.
But like, that's what I'm saying. Why is that different than this family?
Well, I mean, I think also repetition, you know, I mean, listen, I'm not telling, actually, I tried that a couple times, like without a camera, like, oh, sorry you guys, you know, that dessert I made last night, I ate it all. And they're like, shut up, Mom. No, they don't say that. But like their attitude is like, we know it's not true. Like I can't get it past them.
Right.
But if they said, shut up, Mom, that would be a totally different video. But I think it's too, like, obviously, but I don't think that those parents were pranking. Based on what you're telling me, they're abusing their kids on camera.
This was one video that I watched, like I'm saying, I couldn't get past what I was watching. And I think I'm so sensitive because of the work that we do. And we were just talking last week about emotional abuse and trying to teach my staff, for those of you that don't know, I do counseling with teenagers, trying to teach my staff the difference between just having a-hole parents and emotionally abusing your kids. And so I think you hit the nail on the head that it's about repetition. If you one-off tell your kids that they're being a jerk, that's not emotional abuse. But if every single day you're traumatizing their kids in terms of what you say to them verbally and emotionally, that does fall into the category of abuse and neglect. It's just hard to watch it. And
and I don't, it's not like pranking at all. It's just
like I said,
abuse.
There could have been other ones, but there was fake robberies and like doing things to like scare the crap out of kids and stuff, and like elaborate stuff. Like I said, I couldn't
like putting my son has a mannequin in his room, which it took me many months to walk into his room and not freak out. So like, say I took that mannequin, which I never have, but this is a really great idea, and put it in the closet of someone's room and then recorded them and pranked them. That to me is like funny. Like it's funny.
So a couple years ago, I hosted one of our charity events, and one of the volunteers had this like she was probably like 3 foot tall doll. That
Creepy.
she, yes. And she brought it to the event thinking that somebody would auction, like that they would take it.
As an item to auction?
An item to auction off. Well, that did not happen. So where do you think the item ended up? In the backseat of my car. And so I had it in the backseat of my car.
And you rode in the carpool lane?
No. I picked up my kid who freaked out. And then the doll came into the house, and I put it at the kitchen table in like a spot where we don't normally sit. And it took Sam like an hour or two to realize it. And then he was like out of the corner. I know you can't see this, but like out of the corner of his eye. And then I moved the doll up into the bathroom, and I put the doll at the sink. And Sam was so angry at me that I kept moving the doll around because it was freaking him out. And so then he put it in the garbage. And then I took it out of the garbage and placed it somewhere else. And it was actually very fun.
Yeah.
But I would freak myself out because I would forget where I put it.
Right.
And there was
that's funny. See, that to me, like you guys are having fun. You're pranking each other, and that's fine. I think there's I wouldn't even say a fine line. I think there's a very clear line. There's a good one.
Fun line.
You heard it? There's a clear delineation between being like pranking and having a good time and being abusive. And I think that those parents
I mean, to the point that the kids were removed from the home. So there must have been something else going on, but for all intents and purposes, it started because people on the internet were concerned.
Right.
And so it brings up an interesting point about, you know, the power of the people, and like, we're all kind of serving as watchdogs, and that people were concerned about the welfare of these kids. And so I just got to be careful what you put out there, I suppose, or not be careful, be who you are, live your life, and then the repercussions, you know, come as they may. So.
Right. And thank you for saying intents and purposes, as opposed to a lot of people who say, this is my grammar moment for the day. Intensive purposes. You know how I'm a grammar freak?
Yeah.
And just phrases that we use every day. And people are like, oh, for all intensive purposes. I'm like, oh, that's so not it. It's not it. It's intents and purposes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. That's all I got for
So
now.
you schooled.
So, did you see the hot cops? The hot cops of Gainesville.
I did see the hot cops of Gainesville.
So I think people are looking for anything to find joy and amusement coming out of Florida. And so there are these cops who were people were going nuts over that because they were good looking guys.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly they were going to be like the next, I could see it. I could see the tour that they would be on. They were going to be like the next, like, remember that Chewbacca mom, who's like everywhere.
So weird. She goes Chewbacca, I go Chippendale.
Yeah.
It's a single married Star Wars geek.
No, I'm not really Star Wars, but anyway.
No, your husband.
Oh, my husband. Yes. He's my own Chewie. So, yeah. So, right, honey. So anyway, these cops were like,
two of them are married. One of them is single.
Okay. I didn't even get that far.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out that these hot cops are, at least one of them is not so hot after all.
The single one?
I don't know. The one in the middle of the photo.
He's married.
He is awful.
Oh.
He has been known for writing anti-Semitic posts on Facebook that people were pulling out. Like very, very, very cruel, disgusting. Really? Yes. So
see, this was just nice wraparound right there with got to be careful what you put on the internet or not, and then you have to suffer the repercussions. Yes. I did not. The only thing I saw were these three guys that were helping out or something in Florida, and the police department was like, "Oh, we're being inundated. Our website's crashing. Haha, this is so fun." The two wives think it's great, and then the third one's single. That's the last I heard.
Right. No.
Wow.
Look on the as of this morning, I was seeing it's all written about now, and his posts. I mean, I'm not even going to like dignify his posts with what he was saying, but they were disgusting. Like he is racist, he is anti-Semitic.
As a police officer?
Yeah. And so it's like, that's what's so upsetting. First of all, number one, the fact that he's putting it out there as he's serving his community. You need to serve your community, like the whole community, right. and secondly, that he's not bright enough not to do it.
Right.
Like, that's the thing that sometimes it's like, I'd rather somebody put something online because then you really know who they are.
Right.
And that's what we're noticing these days. It used to be you go out and take the trash out and you had no idea that your neighbor felt certain ways. And now we know everywhere. But I think in some ways we know what we're dealing with.
Right. I think that's, a lot of people are talking about how racist we are. I'm like, I think that we've always been. I think that the internet has just allowed people to just spew it more freely.
Yeah.
And so now you're right. I mean, we know, I've had to.
Don't call us racist though. It sounds like we've always been. Like, we're not racist.
No, you mean the United States.
Yes.
Or the country.
White
whatever.
people.
White people. Well, not just white people. All races.
Are racist?
Yeah.
Okay.
I 100% believe that. That I just think that the internet has allowed us a space to just spew it. And I think that when you know that you're not alone, it just kind of fuels the fire. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot more marches and the hate groups starting and the things that went on in Charlottesville, et cetera. But I think it's like super scary to see how hateful people are. And then when you think about people that are in leadership positions, whether it's police department or government officials, there was a mayor that was just censured in some state for spewing hateful things about the president. We have the ESPN host, Janelle, whatever her name is, that went on her Twitter and talking about how she thinks the president's a white supremacist. And then I think people just have this freedom to.
And then they tried to fire her, right?
No, they didn't. The White House wanted her fired. The press secretary called for her to be fired, which that became a whole thing because
since when is the White House deciding?
Considering that the president went on to say that Mexicans are murders and rapists, that's cool. But someone saying that they are against the president for being racist, that's bad. Right. And so she should be fired. But she issued an apology and ESPN reprimanded her and we've moved on supposedly.
But I think that ESPN tried to take her off the show and her coworkers were not agreeing to, if this is the same story.
It just happened yesterday.
Yeah. That I think ESPN was trying to pull her. This is where we don't have all the information, but we're going to talk about it anyway. ESPN tried to pull her off the show, at least temporarily. And her co-host was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it then if she's not. And then the people they tried to replace her with, for the time being, also refused.
Oh,
and so it was like they all backed her up.
Well, there was.
Do you remember though, in what was it, 2003, when Natalie Maines of the Dixie Chicks, like, stood up in concert and said something derogatory about George Bush and being embarrassed, and like the whole world couldn't even take it.
I was married at the time, and I was a huge Dixie Chicks fan, and my husband at the time took my Dixie Chicks CD and threw it away and banned Dixie Chicks in the house because of that. So yes, I am well aware of the impact of that situation.
It's so weird that you're divorced.
Really?
Wow. What are you, 6? You like took away your...
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That was the 180th sign that day.
Yeah. So, I mean, but Natalie Maines, I mean, that was, she faced death threats, and she faced like a lot. Yeah. For
well, there is a fine line between, speaking out in your role as anchor, teacher, government official, and what some may think is abusing your power and using your pulpit. Other people go back to the freedom of speech, and then people say, if she's out there being so free with her opinions, and that draws attention away from ESPN, which directly impacts their branding and their sales and advertising. So like there are a lot of things to be discussed, but I just feel like we are so sensitive.
Yeah.
And when you have, and I'm not picking on the president, but I kind of am, but when you have a president who from his pulpit, the most powerful pulpit in our country, spews those kinds of things, how do you then expect the rest of us to not see that it's okay? And I'm not saying one way is right or the other, but it's kind of like, well, if he can do it, why can't we?
Right.
And so you don't get to have it both ways. And so I don't know what I think. I mean, I appreciate that she was sharing her opinions, but wasn't on air. It was on her personal social media account. So is there a difference? I don't know.
Well, it's funny because I happened to see an article last night about celebrities who are using their voice on, like, specifically it was on Twitter, I think, but like Ellen Pompeo of Grey's Anatomy. And she was just like, if you're a Trump supporter, like, I don't want you as a fan, and she was just, I mean, first of all, it's the last season of Grey's Anatomy, and Shonda no longer has a deal with ABC. So it's super easy to just like, it's kind of like, what's her name in, what's the movie where she, like, I love the movie so much, where she like lights the car on fire and just kind of walks away, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay. Anyway. But I think that, yes.
Waiting to exhale.
Yes. And who is that? I love her.
Okay, keep talking.
Yeah. Okay.
Angela Bassett.
Yes, Angela Bassett. This is how our show started, because I'd say things like, that thing in the whatchamacallit, and she'd be like, oh, totally, Angela Bassett and Waiting to Exhale. And she walks away from the car like, yeah, that's right, I did it. Like, that's how I feel like Ellen Pompeo is right now, because it's the last season. Like, she doesn't care.
Right.
Nor should she. But a lot of people, like Don Cheadle was another one. Like, there are a lot of people who are actors and actresses specifically who are really speaking out and not really caring about what the consequences are with their fans. My question is, like, is that going to make a huge difference when it comes to getting jobs for new, projects or movies or whatever it is? And like, what do you think when you see, and I know we've talked about this before, because I think it's Mark Wahlberg who thinks like celebrities should just be quiet.
As he's using his pulpit to tell us what he thinks.
As he's pushing direct TV. But he, do you think they should be quiet?
I don't know. I feel like when you have a platform, I would hope that people would use their platform to educate and empower, and not to spew hateful negativity. But I think that we are in such a culture right now that we're all like being spun around like tops from one direction or the not. And it's really hard to not get worked up, because I think all of us, regardless of what side you're on, I think we all feel very vulnerable. Whatever the topic is, people feel very impassioned by it. And I think with social media being what it is, it allows people to just spew. And why should we expect actors and people in public, figures to not be able to have opinions?
Right.
I mean, having said that, I worry sometimes with what the ramifications of that are. But I think that when you have people that can pull, I mean, like think about the power of the celebrities that did the fundraiser for the hurricane relief,
Yes.
or in years past, we've done, Hands Across America, or like, I'm totally dating myself, but
We Are the World, baby.
We Are the World. But like, we do have the power to make changes, and we do rely on people in high powered positions like that to impact. So why should they not have an opinion that would be different from yours?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is we have expectations of celebrities to stand up and to make money for, Texas, make money for Florida, to do the right thing and to, use your voice and use your celebrity. And then we, or to give money. I mean, I'm guilty of it when I saw J-Lo and A-Rod, talk about how they were giving $25,000. Alex Rodriguez, who used to be on the New York Yankees, I guess they're a couple. But part of me is like, whatever. And part of me is like, how did that not happen years ago? But, they each are giving $25,000 and other celebrities. And part of me is like, oh, so I could give like their $25,000 is like us giving $5. But my point is like, we have all these expectations. Like, why aren't you giving more? And why aren't you? But yet you're not supposed to stand up when you think there's injustice in the world. And I think it's not okay for us as like fans or as the general population to have all these expectations of people to use their celebrity to stand up for what they believe, that we believe. When they stand up for what we believe is right, it's all good. But when they stand up for what they believe is right, we've got issue with it. And that's BS.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm torn because I also think that when you're in those kinds of positions, we've talked about this a lot too, with the younger celebrities that have such a connection to our kids, that we want them to be role models and we want them to behave in a way that they understand the power of their persona. But why are they not allowed to just be them? Like, I remember when the Ariana Grande story, when she spit or licked the donuts or something, and you're like, oh my God, what's the big deal? She's a teenager. And I'm just like, but she's a teenager that has millions of people following her, that like, I feel like, okay, be that person when no one's watching you. But so I understand the double standard, but
she didn't know anyone was watching her. Who has a camera everywhere? Like,
in this day and age, I do believe. And then, so this is where I'm saying I'm a little bit of it. There's a double standard sometimes, because I do want them to be who they are, but I also think they have to recognize the power of their message one way or the other. And I think
this is why I'm glad I'm not famous, because I can't be perfect for, like, you know what I mean? It's like they go out, you can't go out to dinner. You can't do anything. But like Ariana, I get it. Like, should you be licking a donut? Probably not.
It back in the case? No,
probably not. Although I think a lot of people would spend a ton of money for that Ariana Grande donut. But then like, look at
Ariana or Ariana.
Ariana. So Ariana. So she, and then she totally turned things around, obviously, when that tragic, terrorist attack happened, and it was during her concert, and then she came back, and people were criticizing her, like, that she wasn't there on the ground, for days after, like she's a first responder or something.
Right. I know.
Like she's still, you know what I mean? Like, she's not a first responder, but she went back and she did the concert, and I thought that was extremely brave. And, we just have these expectations, like there's supposed to be these superhuman.
You know what's been bothering me too, though, with this whole issue is, like, if you're a public figure, then people can say whatever they want about you and defame your character, and they can lie, and all those things can happen. But because you're a public figure, defamation of character, you don't have defamation suits available to you because you're. And I'm like, so just because you're in the public eye means that people can just rail whatever insults and like.
Totally,
I think that's ridiculous.
Totally,
it's very hard to like. I have a problem with that.
Yes, as you should, Kim Goldman. Hey, so let's move on.
Okay.
Although I do want to talk about, and like I don't think we've ever really talked about this lately, because it's kind of on the same topic, but like the NFL and Colin Kaepernick, and the fact that he does not have a job. And if anyone's going to say that he doesn't have a job because he just wasn't picked up, and it's not because of his actions, I think that would be pretty misguided. What do you think?
I think at this point it's so hard to separate out what the reasons were, because I think that he was not doing well as a quarterback before he decided to take a knee during the national anthem. And I am not an expert in football, although I do follow it. I don't know what his stats were, but he started to quote unquote fumble, in his role as a quarterback before. And so then I think that things just started to kind of steamroll after that. So I don't really know. But I do agree with you that I think that it's more layered than people are letting on. But I don't know. I'm kind of over the whole take a knee, don't take a knee, stand, don't like.
But do you
I'm
think
just
that
like
you
exhausted?
Well, but do you think you're over it because it doesn't?
I don't understand the point behind it, to be honest with you. Like I don't understand the impact.
I think for an organization like the NFL to not, I mean, there are people on there who have murdered people,
right?
Who abuse animals, who abuse children, who abuse their wives, who I mean, it's like you could have a lineup of all of the things that some of these guys are doing, and that they're never reprimanded or not brought back, or not never, but like oftentimes it's kind of like swept under the rug. And this guy, he didn't go out and into a community and shoot anybody. He didn't go out and cause traffic and be in the middle of a LA, street where there was danger. He has this platform. Do I think he should have done it? Like, part of me is like, you don't do it at work. Like, that's your job.
Right. But go back to what we were just saying about being a public figure. Like, why should he be shunned for voicing an opinion? I mean,
because he was at work.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I'm saying that I'm willing to discuss. Like, you're at work. So if I walk into my job and I decide that that's when I'm going to use it, they have a right to not bring me back, because that's not the place necessarily.
Right.
But at the same time, was a very effective place for him. And so I don't disagree with what he did at all. And I think that he used his celebrity and his platform to, and all of these people are, if you hate America, it's like, no, I'm just not going to salute a place that isn't necessarily treating all equally. And I think that, whether you agree with what he did or not, he has a right to do whatever he wants. But unfortunately, when you show up at work, you show up at the office and you do that, there are the ramifications that they're not going to bring you back. But I feel like if the NFL is going to take a stand, they should take a stand.
Well, and again,
not just there, but
I would have been prepared, and we can come back and do this, but there are lots of NFL players that are suspended, that do have their contracts revoked because of behaviors that they have.
Okay.
I mean, there's one right now with Ezekiel Elliott. He's appealing his suspension. I mean, he is allowed to play, which I don't understand, but Ezekiel Elliott was accused of domestic violence. Adrian Peterson was accused, and I think he was suspended from his team for a year for child abuse. There are, I mean, every week, because I play fantasy football, I have to look at who the players are that can and cannot play because of drug abuse, steroid abuse, DUIs. And so I think that the NFL is trying to take a hard line. I don't know if they can be fired for everything, or if they have contracts. I don't really know how some of those things work, but Colin Kaepernick, I don't think was fired. I think his contract just wasn't renewed. Right. So there are a lot of, and maybe people don't want to deal with that. Maybe they find him, like what you're saying, if he's at the workplace and he's causing this much of a distraction, is he a contributing member of the team? I mean, again, we put all these fancy words in place to cover up sometimes when we don't like that someone is speaking out against what we feel, or there's racism and all those stuff. But yeah, I don't know. But I just, I feel like there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, get rid of him, and this is what he did, but I also think that I have a lot of respect for him choosing something that was effective and quiet, and it was he made his own personal choice. Right. And is that public? Sure. But he didn't go out and spew hate. He didn't go out and any of that. He just, I have respect for those who stand up for what is wrong or what is right, and do it in their own way without putting anybody else in danger. Like, we should be acknowledging the fact that this man used his platform in this way, in a safe. Right. Well, but I think that's what we're saying, though, is that maybe it was the place with which he did it, because I don't think anyone is arguing with the fact that he has a right to do that. I think people were like, this is not the time and the place. And
I don't agree with that, but
I don't know. I mean, I never understood why there was so much.
Yeah, I saw posts, get out of this country if you don't like it and blah, blah, blah. Like as if like this country hasn't been built on people who stood up for like, if we got out of the country every time we didn't agree with something, no one would live here.
Right. And listen, there was a picture that was on Instagram the other day for another game that this couple, an African-American couple, did not stand for the national anthem. And someone took a picture of it, and then it went viral. And there were people that were commenting and putting derogatory comments with this couple, like, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah. And people were like, that's why they're sitting, because you talk to them this way.
Right.
Like, and so I understand. Just, again, I mean, like you said, he took a personal choice. He chose to make it public in an environment that maybe didn't sit well with his bosses. Like you said, he's still at work. I think we forget that
that's their job.
That's their job. And again, I don't know what I feel. Knock yourself out. Like, it doesn't have an impact on me in a negative or positive way. Like, I'm like, okay, good for you. Like, let's just move on to the game. Like, I think it's great if people choose to share their opinions. I don't understand why we have to have it erupt into such a polarizing thing. Like, I'm confused by that, but
hey, so we only have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I gotta go.
So not really speaking of which, but like, the kids are back in school now, thankfully. And with that comes the posts over and over again of the dress codes and the girls being sent home and the parents fighting it. And I was reading about one where a girl had on like short shorts and a tank top or whatever. And then they called the dad, and the dad came and brought her something else, and that wasn't good enough. And the dad was fighting it. And, we seriously have like 3 minutes left. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I can totally understand the need for a school to have some kind of dress code in place. Having, worked on high school campuses for as long as I have. I was just on one last week, and I was like, oh my God, these girls were like half naked. I'm not kidding. Shorts, tube tops.
No.
I mean, I don't know if it just didn't fit this girl. But like the not tube tops, but like this.
Okay.
Belly showing, short shorts, belly showing.
Belly showing at school?
Yes. There were 2 girls in this particular class that were like that. And I was like, oh my God, but power to her for feeling comfortable. But I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, I couldn't look. I struggle with that, to be honest with you. I fully support people being able to express themselves, but I also feel like, well, how come there's no adult supervision that's saying, you know what, that's inappropriate? Like, you have like Band-Aids on your nipples basically to go to school. And like a leaf over your private parts. Like, put some clothes on. Like, I really was like, no.
Yeah. I have to agree with you.
Freshman, by the way. It was a freshman.
No.
Yes, it was a freshman.
This is the thing. Like, schools are sending kids home, girls specifically, because they are a distraction to the boys. And that's how they're phrasing it.
Yeah.
Which I think does the school a disservice, because that's when people are fighting it. Because, I don't care. Boys need to get a grip, first of all, like, and not be distracted by every little thing that happens. That being said, a dress code is, what happened to, like, we used to go on airplanes and dress up, and I'm glad that we don't, because I like to be comfortable, but like going to church, you would wear something. I remember not wearing jeans to church, and so a school has a dress code. It is not the mall, ladies. Like, I am so frustrated with all of these women who stand up and are saying like, but we have to, protect that they can express themselves and the boys shouldn't be distracted. Yeah, I get that part. But there's a time and a place. And if you want to go to the mall with your short shorts and your belly and the whole thing, fine. School is not the place for it. Like, let's not go so far in the other direction where we're like so protective of our rights to do stuff that we're not paying attention to. There's a time and a place, and it goes back.
Well, I also think that when you make the dress code with the commentary that it's a distraction for the boys, I think you're sending the message that the girls are somehow responsible for how the boys treat them. And that if the girls just wouldn't look in a way that makes the boys horny, then the boys
Yes.
wouldn't treat them. Like, I think that
Yes.
there's a missed opportunity there, because I look at the kids at school too, and I see the boys walking around with their butts hanging out, and you see the tops of their underwear, and like they do stuff too, but like
Yeah.
they're children, and you know, things are happening. But I think the message is that it's the onus then becomes on the girls, that what they wear dictates how people treat them. And I think that just perpetuates this whole victim blaming,
Right.
rape culture and I think if we're doing this when we're that young, and it should be what's appropriate.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place, what you're saying.
Yeah.
Everybody's held responsible, and there should be a time and a place about self-respect, and you know, less is more, and modesty is okay. And like, I think we've forgotten that some of those, that's how I was raised. I mean, look, both of us have sweaters on, like I'm covering up
the same
my
color
little
sweater, by the way,
but I'm covering up the very little cleavage that I think I have. I mean, I was raised within a very modest home, and even as an adult, I struggle. And
I have seen you at events in banging dresses.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm just,
but you chose the time and the place.
And so that's,
yes,
I think that message has been lost in our youth.
But I also think that, like, you know, there's a very clear line between teaching our girls to be confident and to love their bodies and this and that, and dressing inappropriately.
Yeah.
Like, if you are 16 years old, I don't think you need to be dressed in a way that is provocative. You know what I mean? It's like, because if there's a 23-year-old guy, the girls, I feel like, you don't know if she's 16, she's 21, she's this, and then there's so much room for confusion. Mm-hmm. I'm not blaming the girl for anything. I'm just saying there's a lot of room for confusion. We need to present ourselves in a way, you know, it's like you walk into a job interview and you present yourself in a way.
Right.
You walk into a bar with your girlfriends, you present yourself in a way. Like, we need to teach all of our kids, like, there are different times and places for things.
But maybe these families think that's a totally appropriate time and place. And so then that becomes this whole
then those families are stupid.
Yeah.
You and your stupid family. Stupid. We got to go. That's it for this week. That's it for this
Judgy
week.
McJudgersons are out.
Thanks for watching and listening. Subscribe on iTunes and check out Facebook Live every Friday.
And come visit us at BROADScast. Ooh, that's weird.
It's backwards, right?
BROADScast.com.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks for all of it.
All of it. Bye.